In the late 1800s, the American West was still a wild and untamed frontier. Cowboys, outlaws, and pioneers roamed the vast plains and rugged mountains, searching for adventure and opportunity. Among them was a young man named John, who had grown up on a farm in the eastern United States. John had always been fascinated by the stories of the West, and he dreamed of one day leaving his farm and heading out to explore the frontier. When he was 18 years old, John finally got his chance. He said goodbye to his family and headed west on a wagon train, filled with excitement and trepidation. The journey was long and difficult, with many dangers and obstacles along the way. But John persevered, and after several months, he arrived in the small town of Silver Creek. Silver Creek was a bustling town on the edge of the wilderness. Cowboys and miners filled the streets, and the sound of gunshots echoed through the air. John was amazed by the sights and sounds of the town, and he couldn't wait to explore the surrounding countryside. John soon found work on a nearby ranch, working as a cowboy alongside a group of tough and experienced men. He learned how to ride horses, herd cattle, and shoot a gun. He quickly proved himself to be a hard worker and a quick learner, earning the respect of his fellow cowboys. One day, while out on a cattle drive, John and his fellow cowboys were ambushed by a group of outlaws. The outlaws were led by a notorious gunslinger named Black Bart, who had a reputation for being ruthless and deadly. John and his friends were outnumbered and outgunned, but they refused to give up without a fight. They took cover behind their horses and returned fire, exchanging shots with the outlaws. The battle was intense, with bullets flying in every direction. John felt his heart pounding in his chest as he fired his gun again and again. But he knew that he couldn't let his friends down, and he kept fighting with everything he had. Eventually, the outlaws began to retreat, their ranks decimated by the gunfire. John and his friends emerged from behind their cover, cautiously checking to make sure that the outlaws were really gone. As they looked around, they realized that one of their fellow cowboys, a man named Tom, had been shot and was lying on the ground, bleeding profusely. John rushed over to Tom's side and tried to staunch the bleeding. Tom looked up at John, his face pale and his breathing ragged. "Listen, kid," he said weakly. "I don't think I'm gonna make it, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to take care of my wife and kids. They're back in Silver Creek, and they don't have anyone else to turn to." John nodded, tears streaming down his face. He promised Tom that he would take care of his family, no matter what it took. Tom smiled weakly and closed his eyes, his last breath escaping his lips. John and his friends buried Tom in a quiet spot by the river, saying a prayer for their fallen comrade. John was filled with a sense of purpose and determination, knowing that he had to keep his promise to Tom. Over the next few years, John became a trusted and respected member of the Silver Creek community. He helped to build homes and businesses, worked as a sheriff's deputy, and even served as a mentor to younger cowboys. And throughout it all, he never forgot his promise to Tom. He visited Tom's family regularly, bringing them food and supplies and helping them with their farm work. He became a surrogate father to Tom's children, teaching them how to ride horses and shoot a gun. He watched them grow up and start families of their own, always there to offer a helping hand when they needed it. As the years passed, Silver Creek changed. The wild and lawless frontier town of John's youth had grown into a thriving city, with paved roads and electric lights. But despite the modernization, John remained true to his cowboy roots. He still wore his hat and boots, and he still carried a gun at his side. One day, as John was sitting in the local saloon, he overheard a group of outlaws plotting to rob the bank. They were led by a man who went by the name of Snake Eyes, and they were known to be the most dangerous and ruthless gang in the West. John knew that he had to act fast. He rounded up a group of fellow cowboys, and together they rode out to the bank to confront the outlaws. The gunfight that followed was intense and deadly. Bullets flew back and forth, shattering windows and splintering wood. But John and his friends were determined to protect their town, and they fought with all their might. In the end, the outlaws were defeated. Snake Eyes himself was captured, and he was sentenced to hang for his crimes. And once again, John had proven himself to be a hero of the West. As he rode back into town, John couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had fulfilled his promise to Tom, and he had protected the town that had become his home. And even though the West was changing, he knew that he would always be a cowboy at heart.